ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We are back on RYS YouTube channel delivering you another webinar. So this is the last one in the series of lockdown parenting, and today's webinar titled Screen Time in Lockdown. Very relevant topic for most parents, I'm sure, as we have been receiving a lot of questions on this topic. So we will be looking at alternative methods of entertainment and why we should aim for less screen time. But we can't be digital hermits, right? We all depend on screen for work, for school, for entertainment to some extent. So we will be looking at some practical solutions with regards to how we can control the content quality on the screen and the timing and how to set some rules and regulations. And we have a guest today, mashallah, joining us all the way from the USA, Azra Rahman. Azra, do you want to introduce yourself quickly,
Yeah,
inshallah?
sure. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. So before I introduce myself, let me just put out a disclaimer that I'm not a professional parenting expert. I'm just a mom who's who has two kids and who's
Yeah,
trying to navigate things as
yeah.
she goes through them. Besides that, I'm based in USA. Currently, I've started working as a freelancer and a blogger, and
Mm-hmm.
in that very arena, I'm trying to expand my roots.
Yeah,
Collaborating with fellow bloggers, collaborating
yeah.
with fellow podcasters and stuff like that. I
Mashallah.
have
Azra is a young mom of two, aspiring writer, right?
yes,
She's,
alhamdulillah.
mashallah. Yeah, I loved reading your blog, mashallah.
Jazakallah khair.
I read few posts, mashallah. And if anybody wants to collaborate with a young aspiring writer, mashallah, get in touch with Azra. And when she came with this topic suggestion and with the idea of coming on board on RYS webinar, I was like, yes, this is going to be a really good one, a really good reminder for myself first and foremost, but also I know based on the questions that we have been receiving, for podcast and for Thursday Thoughts, I know this is something that most parents have been struggling with lately, subhanallah. So let's start with screen time, pre and post lockdown, right?
Yeah,
Because pre-lockdown, we were already struggling with the screen time. Like everybody's nowadays have access to gadgets and devices and mobiles and smartphones. Really took the place of entertainment and pastime, and it replaced like bedtime conversations. It replaced many aspects of
yeah,
our lives in so many ways, and we were already struggling, right, pre-lockdown.
exactly,
And
exactly.
post-lockdown, like what happened post-lockdown, subhanallah.
So even with pre-lockdown, it was hard to imagine life without gadgets and technology, because every single aspect of our life is now dictated by it. Whether it's locking your home, say putting security in your home, reaching out to educational institutions. Uh, Most of the educational institutions, they also make use of these online, even like the pre-corona era. They still
Yes.
made use of a lot of technology to teach their kids. So
Yeah.
it had always been difficult, but I just personally feel that that time we had a little bit of outside time as well. Like we could
Yeah.
take kids to the park, we could take, we could ourselves go out without too much of a nagging fear at the back of our minds.
Yeah.
Schools went out on trips, and
Yes.
field trips and stuff like that. But since lockdown, it's been just online, whether it's office or it's school or it's
Yeah.
entertainment. Anything happens, you just direct the child to,
Yeah.
why don't you go entertain yourself? And what do they do for entertainment? They pick up a gadget and they sit with the gadget. That's what's been
Yeah.
happening. And I know
Subhanallah.
it is quite difficult as parents to always keep your kids engaged, because
Yes.
that's what we've been doing. We always, and with the kids younger in age, they always want something to do. It's not like
Yeah.
they would find something to do, they always want something to do. the
Yeah.
I am bored sentence I've heard maybe millions of times from my kids, even while they're doing something. So I can understand with people who have even more active kids, it's even difficult for them because they have to manage their work schedules, the schedules
Yeah,
around their house. Their
yes, subhanallah. And the dynamics of the current situation is, the whole everything's changed, right?
yes, exactly,
The lifestyle has shifted, right? And
exactly,
the parents working from home and schools shifting into more online based education.
right,
So now everybody's cooped up indoors. And how to strike the problem is how can we strike the balance between managing kids, and managing their online schooling,
mhm,
and managing our own working from home
yeah,
schedule and family time, right?
right,
This is the question, and this is what we will be looking at in today's webinar, inshallah. Why
inshallah.
we should aim for lesser screen time, and secondly, what family activities to enjoy without compromising safety. And thirdly, screen time, how to set the rules and boundaries for safety. All of us need rules, when it comes to screen time. Adults as much as children, we need to set models, right? We need to
That's true.
set, yeah, subhanallah. And the safety aspect is also huge. And like you said, I want to put the disclaimer out there that I have read a number of books on screen time, how to manage gadgets and devices in a family, for to enhance relationships. But it is different for every family. Nobody can come up with a rule, hey, you should do X, Y, and Z, because every
Exactly.
family is different, every child is different, every
Yes.
circumstance is different. And what is more is your needs, your family needs are constantly changing because you are evolving, you are growing. So you will have to evaluate, every parent will have to evaluate their own situation and come up with a set of rules to follow for that family, right?
Yes.
And what we put out there is just the general guidelines. It might be a reminder for some. It may be, something to think about, like an idea, like, oh, this is really good idea. I want to implement this in my family.
Mm.
So, inshallah, it's really a general guidelines, inshallah. So, firstly, we would like to start off with why aim for lesser screen time. Why we should aim for lesser screen time, Azra.
So if you go online yourself and you conduct a search, so you'll find a lot of papers, medical papers, quoting why screen time should be lesser and physical activities or emotional bonding time would be more. A lot of the papers
Yeah,
have have been quoted as saying that uh, like undisciplined screen time and unmonitored screen time, if you combine these two, they might lead to one or more of these pointers we
yeah,
have put, the lack of social skills for obvious reasons. If the child, or even as an adult, if you're just involved in watching online, playing online, what do you do? How do you interact with people? How do you know how to talk to people? How do you
yes,
know how to exchange information with people? You don't. So obviously that leads to a lack of social skills. You do not know how to navigate your way through life in the real
yeah,
world. You have this make believe fantasy world, like cocooned. You have cocooned
yes,
yourself in a world, in a virtual world, whether it be the arena of gaming or just watching programs with a pop of soda and a can of
yeah,
crisps or something. But that's what it leads to, because to develop that social skill, to navigate through life, to make your way through life successfully, make your way through life. And by
yeah,
successfully, I do not mean that you have to earn a lot of money, but just be in a place where you know what you're doing, not get
yeah,
confused, not get flustered. To do
yeah,
that, you must go outside and expose yourself, and that is one thing even the parents should learn, how much to expose their kids to either
yeah,
aspect of upbringing, to people
right,
and to the online, all the gadgets and everything and whatever else is online, because
yeah,
in
right.
today's world, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off.
No, 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 it's okay. Go ahead, go ahead.
In today's world, it is difficult to not include both aspects into parenting and just catch up to one, because both are really, really important aspects of today's upbringing in the modern lifestyle. Gadgets are important, social skills are important. Social skills are important for their intellectual, their emotional, the connective development with the society, with the people around them. If they do not get that, it's going to be hampering for their own personality.
Right.
And
Yeah. And with children, especially,
yes,
like we were born and raised more or less in less screen time,
exactly.
era, right? And what we see in today's children who are exposed to screen, more than they are supposed to, they have a number of behavioral issues, and schools have a lot of problems nowadays, with ADHD, with mental
Mm,
instability, short attention span, and
yes,
we've seen the research. The studies suggest that increased screen time in children as well as in adults lead to irregular and unhealthy sleep patterns, which then disturb the function of your brain, and in turn it weakens your willpower, or it weakens your decision making skills, it weakens your like making choices. So people who spend prolonged time in front of screen, it's passive, isn't it? You're not
yes,
engaging in any kind of in any kind of meaningful process, really. It's very passive, and so it really affects a person's willpower, decision making skills. They make more unhealthy choices, and never mind that it's obvious that lack of physical activity, obesity, it's very obvious. And a lot of us, when we talk about screen time, it's not just social media, or it's watching something. Also a lot of online games
online
nowadays,
games,
like
yes.
video games, and it brings the whole new dynamic of its own set of problems to screen time, right? It's one thing that you sit down and watch something, but
Hmm.
it's completely different when you sit in front of the screen and play a game where you feel that you are actually in the game, like in
Yes,
real time.
you're
And it's
achieving
complete.
things. You're achieving things
Yes,
in the game. You are somebody in the game. That is a big
yes,
turn on for some people, you know.
yeah,
They
yeah,
really love that feeling of conquering and being somebody of like consequence there in a virtual world rather than be a
yeah.
nobody on the couch, you know.
Yeah,
So
and I
that
think that's the number one struggle for parents, because a lot of teens, they don't want to be left out of their peer groups.
yes.
And when their peer groups get together in this virtual world, and they take on certain characters, and play these games in real time, and it's just that for most parents it's the best wall of defense against nagging,
Hmm.
because children keep nagging and nagging, and
Hmm.
like, oh, why can't I do this, and all my friends are on this, and so we can't put up with peer pressure, so we give in, right? And
Hmm.
this thing is addictive. The screen is addictive to the brain,
Yes.
just like how sugar is addictive. You want it more and more and more, and because it's passive, you don't even realize how the time is passing. What 1 hour spent in front of the screen may feel like 1 minute or 10
Yes.
minutes, right?
Yes.
You never realize, subhanallah. And there has been, like I said, I will recommend a number of books at the end of this webinar. There
Inshallah.
has been so much research conducted, a lot of studies, a lot of psychologists today that are warning us against the you know the problems, or the threats of spending more time in front of the kids, both adults and for children.
Hmm.
But what family activities we can do without compromising safety in the house. Some of them may be very well known to a lot of parents. Some of them maybe give, like, reminding you of a new idea. But
Hmm.
this is what we do with kids, right?
Yes.
Let them unleash their creativity. So
Yes.
something that's very common in our household is junk modeling. So we don't throw like milk bottles or
Hmm.
cardboards and plastic things away. We just like keep them in a box, and children,
Make
every
crafts with
few
them.
days, yeah,
Use
just
them.
go and do something with them, like
Yes. Yes.
whatever you want to do, make something out of cardboard boxes and just stick the plastic bottles or the caps somewhere, use the tape or glue. Just do what you can, right? And
Yeah, I
sometimes
like
they watch
children
YouTube
are
tutorial.
so
Yeah,
resourceful. Like they'll come up with amazing ideas. Sometimes the way my kids play, I am amazed at how they have transformed one thing into the other thing. You know,
yeah,
they will, like, the pretend play in kids. It's so strong. Alhamdulillah. If you encourage them to play, if they have siblings, cousins who live in the
yeah,
same household, it's always a bonus. To
yeah.
because they have a playing companion essentially, so they require less to little of the screen time because they're busy in playing.
That's right.
With single kids it's a bit different, so you as a parent have to be their companion through and through. If you want
Yeah,
them to play, you must sit them with and play. If you want them to make crafts, do not just tell them to go and make crafts. You have to sit them. You have to take an interest in what they're doing, how they're doing, give them ideas, take ideas from them, and that's how it becomes a fun thing instead of
yeah,
become a more one-on-one, like just by yourself activity, which is also important in connecting with your child. uh,
yeah.
connection with children, a lot of parents say that they do not have that connection with children. So it's always like how you start and where you start from. If they are like grown up, 10 years old, 12 years old, and then you seek a connection, or when they are like really grown up, 30 years old, and then you seek a connection, it will be a bit difficult. So how about
That's
you
right.
start young, when they're still impressionable children, where they know that if I go to my parents, I will be attended to, I would be looked after, I would be heard, which is
Yeah,
important. And
yeah.
this time, whether we recognize it or not, this time has been the post corona stage. It has also been difficult, really difficult for kids, especially kids who are used to going out, who are used to playing with their friends, who are used to going to school and seeing their teachers, their classmates. To have them being stuck inside all day, it has been difficult for them,
Very
even
difficult.
though
Yes,
they do not put it in words, and even though they are the ones who are like, screaming and running around the house, but that's how they're dealing with it. So
that's right.
so
Yeah, yeah. I have one who is very extroverted, very
okay.
outgoing, and yeah, she always tells me, I really miss going to school, seeing my friends. I hate this. When does this end? And subhanAllah, it has been very difficult
Yes.
for children who are outdoorsy, who are used to going out, seeing people, meeting people, doing things together,
Right.
like you said, right? SubhanAllah. And another thing that we put down is we have to involve kids with house chores. So they have to be involved in cooking and cleaning, arranging, organizing around the house. I know I always talk about this, subhanallah, in most of my webinars, but there's no other way around. They have to do something daily.
Yes.
If we want them to be responsible, we have to start giving them responsibilities from a young age. If we want our children to be grounded, put some responsibility on their shoulders, right? They
Correct.
have
Correct.
everybody, you're responsible for the bathroom, you're
Correct.
responsible for cleaning the fridge, and you're responsible for arranging the shoes, right? The
Yes.
bookshelf.
Yes.
Every child should be doing something around
Something.
the house
Yeah.
daily, right? That has to be
Every,
daily.
like, onwards and upwards from 2+ years. My pediatrician, I remember it like very clearly. She said that 2+ years of kids, they they learn to organize if you teach them. So they don't have to do big stuff. Maybe just after play, you teach them how to put the toys back in the bins, or put the toys
Yeah.
where they belong, and they'll do it. And I've seen that. Although it gets a bit muddled up after a certain a certain time, but it
No.
does happen. There's
Yes.
there's
Yeah, it
something.
becomes like when we train from young age, give them
Yes.
responsibilities. You do this, you are in charge of this, and make charts. I remember we
Yes.
used to do a lot of charts when my children were younger,
Yes.
and then ticks, every day, like when you complete this, you get one
Ticks,
tick, and
stars.
every 10
Yeah.
ticks would be like 10 minutes. And, this is how they used to earn their screen time,
Yeah.
stars, or, the number of stars would convert to the minutes of screen time.
Hmm.
And they used to love it. Yes, and it builds a habit, right? After a certain
Exactly.
time, they're used to it, and they just do it without questioning. Like, okay, this is my job, and I'll just do it, right?
Perfect. Like, we won't be picking up after our kids for a lifetime. We don't want to. Like, you shouldn't want to be picking up after your kids, regardless of the gender, because household work or household chore is not a gender role. It has to be done by the man and the woman because both have to go through life. And some maybe for some years of
Yeah,
their lives they would not have a partner to take care of these things.
yeah,
When boys move out of homes, and a lot of boys they find it difficult to do mundane things like sorting their clothes for laundry, and that is
yeah,
such a basic job. Like, how do you not know which clothes are soiled and which clothes are clean? And how do you not know how to wash your clothes? You're not washing them by hand. These days most of us we have a, like, washer. So what's the
yeah,
big deal? But that's how they have never been taught to do that. They have never been taught. A lot of girls also have difficulties, maybe not all the girls, but they do. So regardless of the gender, you must involve your child in
yeah.
household chores, because it not only does it enhance their personality, make them more responsible, but they grow up to be more mature.
That's
In
right. That's right.
in even if you think further on, their married lives would be much more easier if they choose to get married someday, inshallah.
Yeah,
It'll be so much easier for them to do things, to be an active participant in the concept of marriage, not just become, somebody who's just there, which is kind of
yeah,
frustrating for the
yeah.
partner.
Another one of our favorite pastime activities as a family is board games. So
Yes.
we have a lot of board games, like all-time family favorite, Monopoly, Scrabbles, and snakes and ladders.
Hmm.
But we also have a big selection of Islamic board games now. There's
Nice.
Quran challenge, there's Hadith challenge, and there's also from Learning Roots. They have done the companions cards. They ask questions. Also,
Mhm.
the five pillars of Islam. These are really good board games, and my children love. They always beg me like, "Can we play this one? Can we play that one?"
Mashallah, mashallah.
It's
Very nice.
really excellent choice for family to come and connect. Spend time together, have
Hmm.
fun, while also increasing your knowledge.
Yes.
Board games are really good, and storytelling, conversations during meal times. This is another one of our connecting time that they really love having, mealtime conversations.
Hmm.
It's really like it's a great tradition to pass on, right?
Yes.
And this is when everybody starts opening up and telling about their thoughts and what they went through, or what happened with their friend, or
Hmm.
when they talked to so and so and somebody said something, and really, subhanallah, it's interesting to get insight into children's way of thinking
Right.
and their way of thought processing, especially when they're you know preteens and teens, and at that age this is really important.
Hmm.
Communication and connection is really, really
Yeah.
important,
Like
because otherwise you
mealtime.
don't know. Yes, you don't know
Meal
what's
times.
going on.
Meal times should be completely technology free, according to me. Like, no
Yeah,
tabs, no phones, not even the father sitting on the phone because doing his office work. You can take out 10 minutes or 15 minutes of your time to sit at the
yeah,
table with your family and eat your food. Maybe if you are that busy, okay, maybe just finish your food up and leave. That's okay. But do not, do not give in to the needs of technology, because technology can really wait. We have
yeah,
tried that. We have tried that it can wait. It's us who's hurrying towards it.
yeah,
It can really wait. So just
yeah,
if you would do this with children like really young in age, it can be a bit difficult to do anything other than feed them. But then that habit evolves because they know when that they come to the table, they have to talk, they have to make eye contact, they have to make conversation, they have to enjoy the food and those kind of things, which would be, if it becomes a habit, it would be passed on to later generations as well. You,
yeah,
you say, like, you see you do, not you do you say, sorry. You see you do,
subhanallah.
that's how it is. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the question is, okay, we all know that we should aim for less screen time, right?
Hmm.
That's less screen time for entertainment. We know that, like we said, the world shifted post corona. Now everybody is working from home, so we depend on screen to get our work done. Like I'm a teacher, for example, it has
Mhm.
affected me personally. So every
Mhm.
day for 3 hours I'm working from home, I'm teaching from laptop, right?
Mhm.
And my some of my children do their schooling from home because
Mhm.
where we are at the moment, the schools have been closed since March 2019, so that's like
Yes.
9 months of school closure. So yes, we can't get rid of the screen completely because we depend on it for work, for school, and some entertainment. But what we are aiming is use it more intentionally
Right.
and less for entertainment. And according to studies, right, how much screen time is healthy? What do you think without looking at the screen, Azra?
Yeah,
Have
this
you researched about this?
actually, yeah, I have searched about it. I remember very well, like with both my kids, the doctors, the pediatrician, she's really active in these things, in guiding other parents. So through her, I got a lot of knowledge, alhamdulillah. And she made sure, like a lot of parents I see online, that they post these videos of infants watching screens, which is not recommended by pediatricians at all. Up till
Mm,
2 years of age, it is not recommended that you give any sort of screen time to your child. It is really lucrative to take your child in your arms and watch TV or watch your pad and feed them and do things like that, but do not do that because they will be enamored by it. They will get attracted to it. 2 plus years, 1 hour a day, I think. Uh,
yeah,
it's fine. Like that's what that's what I've searched up, that for 2 to around maybe 10, 12, maybe around
yeah,
10, 9, 10 years of age, 1 hour to one and max to max a half hour and a half should be fine for them to
yeah,
watch, and that too not in a close proximity, as the way most kids these days watch tab. They I don't know, for some reason they really want to get inside the tab or something, so they watch it with
yeah,
such close proximity, which is not healthy at all. You should have some distance, a few feet of distance. Like if possible, a larger screen. If not a larger screen, at least the distance should work for them.
yeah.
Definitely not on the mobiles. I personally do not recommend giving your children the mobile or small tabs,
Hmm.
just because apart from it being the whole rays concentrated on such a small screen and the eyes training to look at such small things, apart
Yeah,
from that, I just feel that it gives the child a lot of freedom to navigate things as they would, and they learn really
that's
fast.
right.
Trust me, they learn
That's
really really fast,
Yeah.
which is
And
not.
there's safety aspect of it as
Yes.
well, right? Nowadays, with this like Google Assistant or Alexa,
Oh
everybody is like
yes.
automated, and
Yes.
you can control the mobile with just voice controls, and there's a
Really.
lot of safety aspect of it. And we've heard cases, and we know incidents where children were left, alone with
Mm,
mobile, and things happened, undesirable, and things that could have been prevented. And subhanallah, I agree completely that young children should not be left with a mobile or
no,
any handheld device, really. And if you must, just use like a TV or laptop, right,
yes,
as much as you can, inshallah.
yes,
And like you said, yeah, 1 hour a day for children, 2 to 10, or 12, and 2 hours. This is the ideal, right? Based on research and studies and
yes,
health professionals, that 2 hours a day for teens and adults. And
yes.
can we limit screen time to 1 to 2 hours daily? What do you think?
So personally, for entertainment purpose, yes. For overall, I think it goes beyond that. Just because we have to do everything online with regards to studies and office work,
Yeah,
so we must sit in front of the laptop. We can't really help that. But for entertainment, I think it would be helped, and
yeah,
that is why we were talking about these family-based activities on how to maximize your time with your family without involving screen too much. Once in a
yeah,
while, well and good. You can always watch things as family together, as a family. uh, One thing I really do not like about, with even with adults and myself, is like being cooped up in one space with the phone in hand and constantly scrolling through, like just just not paying attention to whatever is going outside. But with
yeah,
kids, alhamdulillah, there right now there are a lot of parental controls, even softwares like I don't know whether you have heard about Net Nanny. So it's a
Net
software
nanny.
that, yes, Net Nanny. So it lets you control what your child sees.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that, it basically lets you control all the digital content in your house.
Yeah.
Apart from that, your browser would also enable you to have parental controls. The apps allow parental controls, but I somehow
Yeah.
feel they are not enough. YouTube Kids, they did allow parental control, and I had it under parental control, but I was too tired of going and constantly sifting through the videos my kids watched every 2 days. So I
Mhm.
eventually I just ended up deleting YouTube Kids. I was like, I can't watch that because there's too many
Yeah.
things I do not want you to watch.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
it's just extra work for you then,
it's
isn't it?
too much.
Like that's why I hear from many frustrated moms nowadays because
Yes,
they are just too exhausted policing their children, online schooling because children can't be left by themselves
no,
because the minute that they go away, they just go on elsewhere, right? They
yes,
may be logged in and present in their virtual classrooms, but at the same time, they may be in another tab, playing with
yes,
their friends or chatting away or watching something. And there's no way of controlling this virtually, like from teacher side or from the school,
yes. Mhm.
unless you have, adult supervision physically present next
Physically
to the
present.
child.
That is
And
true.
that's what's exhausting a lot of parents, subhanallah. I think, in an answer to this question, in a direct answer, can we limit screen time to 1 to 2 hours daily? I think if, like you said, for entertainment purposes, yes, definitely. And some practical suggestions that I put out there is be
Hmm.
accountable. All of us should be, I think, starting with adults. We have to
Yes,
be, like I said, that this webinar is a reminder for myself first and foremost, because I have noticed the increase in my screen time, that we have to be accountable. Nowadays, you have these different, apps that control your
yes,
time. For example, when I go on Facebook, that it tells me how much time, I'm spending daily on Facebook, for example, right?
yes,
And all social media have this kind of thing where you can measure your daily time that you spent on that platform. And it's really great to have, like, mm, when we go on, social media, because it's like drip feeding effect. You just keep going down,
yes,
scrolling down, and it's a
yes.
new content, so you never
That's
get bored. It's like never ending.
never ending. That's how
Yes,
they earn their money by
yes,
us scrolling. That's how it
yeah, and
happens.
it feels like you can spend, you may go for 5 minutes just to check something, and you can easily spend an hour, and you
Yes,
don't notice that you've spent the whole hour. And even
yes.
my son tells me sometimes, like, Mom,
Mm.
when I read Quran, and I put the timer for 10 minutes, and it feels like such a long time. But when I watch something, even after 1 hour, you say, close it, shut it down. You spend an hour, it feels like just 5 minutes. I
Five
can't
minutes.
believe it,
I
right?
get it. Yes. Yeah,
SubhanAllah.
I'm in today's time, I think I'm really grateful that the kids today they do have access to Muslim apps as well, Muslim
Yes.
online sites, and these are doing great, like Muslim Kids TV, and I think there's another one called Huda TV. I'm not sure about
Yeah,
that.
Ali Huda TV.
Ali Huda
Yeah.
TV, right? So they have like safe content, and with them you can even filter out whether you want music based content or not.
Mm,
So I did install Muslim Kids TV for my kids because I went through it. We went through it as parents, and we found that it's safe. Plus, every video has age written, and you can filter out a lot of stuff. But nothing
mm,
in them. It's really educational. It's neat and clean without information that shouldn't be there for kids to watch. So
yeah.
I find that we do have options to make sure that our kids, whatever entertainment they get it in a safe place, from a safe
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Uh, I really
And
didn't
we
like.
we
Sorry.
we need to have phone free times, like you
Yes,
said.
yes,
Meal times should be phone free, and bed times should be phone free,
yes,
just before bedtime, and early mornings should be phone free. That's when
yes,
everybody wake up, connect, and be realistic. If you I know a lot of mompreneurs who depend on social media, or who run online businesses,
yes,
and their work depends on the screen, basically.
yes.
So be realistic. If it is for work, like I said, use it more intentionally. If it
Hmm.
is for work, then it is for work, right? And if you are really, even if it's for work, you're trying to aim for less screen time, then try not to like cut it in half, or have realistic goals like, okay, I want to spend 1 hour less on the screen today, but
Hmm.
within that 1 hour less, like let's say every day you spend 5 6 hours, so
Hmm.
the next day 4 hours, but what I'm doing in 6 hours I want to do it like within the less time, right?
Last time,
Better
yes.
planning, better scheduling, and I think going outside is really important,
Yeah.
because I've started going outside. Sometimes I really have to force myself, but it
Hmm.
really increases that feeling of happiness in your brain. It boosts your mood, it reactivates your brain, it improves your physical health. It
Yes.
also helps with sleep. For those who are going, if you have sleep disorder,
Hmm.
going outside is really important. Go for a walk, go for a run, spend time. And another thing that helps us is co-using devices. So
Hmm.
my eldest daughter doesn't have a mobile, but she also does online schooling, right?
Hmm.
So she depends on my phone, like, to stay in touch with her teachers, and sometimes she needs to take pictures of her homework and send, like, they have their own classroom in Telegram. So, but she doesn't have her own device, right? She can use a laptop or my phone, and
Hmm.
we share these devices. So it really helps to be like, to minimize both,
Minimize
because
it,
sometimes,
monitor it. Yeah.
to monitor it. I minimize her time spent on screen because I need the device myself, or she helps me to minimize mine because she
Hmm.
needs the device at certain
Yes.
times. And for children especially, everybody need to have a rule that children, if they own their own devices, be it tablet or iPad, smartphone, they can only use it in communal areas like living room or the kitchen, right?
Yes.
They
Yes.
should not be allowed to take their devices to bedroom, especially if they have mobile data or access to Wi-Fi. I think
Yes.
this is
That's true.
extremely dangerous, for preteens, especially for preteens and young kids like teens,
Yes.
because again, the research shows that it leads to anxiety, depression, attention span in kids. All these problems, mental health problems, are on the rise among children between the age of 12 and 16. And the number one cause of this has been identified as increased time spent on screen.
Online. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
online, social media, or, video gaming. Uh, because like we said, screen is addictive, right?
It
And they,
is. It
they
is.
they tend to go more and more towards this artificial world, and
Yes.
making less connection with the reality, or with the real world, like with people around them.
Yeah.
um,
So
SubhanAllah, it's really.
once in a while, I think it's good to host a game playing party for your kids. Whether if your friends come over and they
Yes,
play, so you can monitor
yes.
and they get what they want. But to let them just do it for added stretches of time, I think that would translate to something really unhealthy, and it's really
Yeah,
unhealthy. It's really unhealthy.
I think we should just set the rules from the onset that,
Perfect. Yes.
okay, I will give you, because I know a lot of my own mum friends and my
Hmm.
sisters, maybe they children have access to PS4. They do this virtual gaming,
Yes.
and we have to clear, we need to have very clear rules from
Yes.
the onset, and we need to communicate these rules to our children from the onset. Okay, I don't want you to be left out from your peer
Years.
group or
Hmm.
friends, and okay, I will get you this, but I have my own terms and conditions, and you have to abide by this, right?
Yes.
You can't play, like, post 9 or 10 in the evening, for example, and you can play between this time and this time, I think for an hour daily, maybe, right?
Yes.
And yeah,
No setup.
communicate this.
No setup in the bedrooms. Please
Exactly,
set up in
exactly, it
somewhere
has
you
to be.
can see.
Yes,
You
it
can
has to
see.
be in the living room where people are walking in the background, or some adult presence, or even if you are popping in and out, and so at least you there, you can just oversee it. You're not next to your children, the whole time, but you can just have a look and oversee it, and definitely not have these game setups in the bedroom, inshallah.
Yeah, that's a good solution to,
Yeah,
because we as they're like growing up. We only have a few years to teach them the rights and wrongs and the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts. After a
yeah,
certain while, it would require them to have some privacy of their own. So when they reach an age, maybe 18, 19 years of age, you cannot just barge into their room as we do now when they are 6 years or 8 years or 10 years of old.
yeah,
So before they reach that age, they should know what they're supposed to be doing and why they're supposed to be doing. Just lecturing them, it's not gonna help. It's not gonna help.
yeah.
Really not gonna help. And these habits, inshallah, they do stay for a lifetime if you inculcate good habits in them. So there's always a solution. And then again, as you mentioned earlier, um, it it has to
Yeah,
be really personalized. Just general things we're talking about. It has
yeah,
to be really
from
personalized for
different,
each
yeah,
child, each
it's
parent, because
different
they're all
from family to
yes,
family, from child to
yes.
child. Yeah, and everybody's like, everybody's needs are constantly changing, right? And yeah, inshallah, you can. Another thing is when it comes to screen time, controlling the content, and you mentioned that that we can use it for educational purposes, and nowadays when it comes with there's so much negative connotation attached to screen time, but
Mm,
actually it has a number of advantages and number of benefits, and we can use it to our benefit, right?
yes.
And there are so many educational apps. Like my children use Duolingo to learn a new language,
Mm,
and Epic is a digital library of books and audiobooks, and you can buy a yearly membership, very reasonable, and Ed Place where they can practice. It's a bit like Khan Academy. They
mhm.
practice maths, English, science based on UK curriculum, IXL, Brain Pop, some faith-based channels and programs, audiobooks, and educational programs. Sometimes, we listen to TED Talks for kids or Brightside. There are also educational movies that to watch. We watched like Miracle Worker, Pollyanna. There's so many others that I just couldn't remember off the top of my head. But this, like a lot of people have also watched, historical dramas, Turkish dramas like Dirilish Ertuğrul or Payitaht Abdulhamid, Mehmet Cik. These like, good, like if you want a screen for entertainment, then you always have control what to watch, right? What to
Yes,
choose, right? We all always have choice. Okay, we want a bit of entertainment. We want to watch something together as a family, or your children want to spend some time, and we always have choice, and we can use it to our benefit. We can use it to our
that's true.
advantage.
That is
There's
true.
so many things. These are the things my children used to watch when they were young. My older
Oh
children,
yeah,
when they were younger, they used
yes.
to watch. You know,
These are some of the things my kids watch: Zaki and prophet stories from the Quran,
yeah,
the Boy and the King.
yes,
There's a series on the Muslim kids called Al Qasas. They have these short stories from the Quran, and they love it. They really love it. Then
yeah,
they have a series of on the prophets and the men around the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Uh,
mashallah.
so there are a lot of things you can, if your child has to watch, and obviously you have to give them a choice. You cannot just be a dictator and control everything. But when giving them a choice, make sure it's a choice you would be comfortable in choosing, in them choosing from, not
Yes,
just blind choices. Uh,
yeah,
it's like offering the child whether they want to eat 2 pieces of broccoli or 3 pieces of broccoli. So they still get to eat broccoli, but they
yes.
choose what amount of broccoli they eat. It's like that.
Yes, definitely. And my kids learned a lot from this.
Yes.
they used to love this the cartoon animated animation, The Boy and the King and The Last Prophet. I don't know how many times they've watched this, but they used to watch it a lot. And that's the thing about children, when they're young, they don't mind watching the same thing over and over and again. I'm sure they must have
Yes,
watched it at least like 10 times,
yes.
Last Prophet, and it was really good quality. And we used to watch Baba Ali series as well. It was really good. And yeah, Sultan Fatih the Conqueror, there was animation about that, Qabil and Habil, all of them were really good. And some educational documentaries I have put what the out there.
Yeah.
These are the things that we watched with I watched with my kids: Blue Planet 1, 2, and the last one. I'm not sure that is it Blue Planet 3, I can't remember, or is it different name. But this is great, mashallah,
There are
all
nature
the
documentaries on Netflix. They're
yeah,
really good. I really
yeah,
love them, and my kids love them. We have watched them like multiple times. So they because we make it a family activity of watching documentaries together, and they
yes,
love it. They love
yeah,
it. They love
yeah,
those Netflix nature documentaries are really good. Even on YouTube, you can find a lot of documentaries
yeah,
on science, other facts of life, and things
yeah.
which would interest
Wildlife,
you.
big cats. I remember we
Traveling.
used to watch.
They
Yes,
they also love to watch what is that YouTuber's name? Mark Wayne's. He travels a lot, and they
yeah,
also like to watch what he eats and where he goes because he always goes to new places. So these
yes.
are safe options which would expose them to good things without exposing them to something which is not safe.
Yeah, and you can watch and discuss it. Like we used to
Yeah.
watch this Mark Wayne, he travels for food. He
Yes.
went to Uzbekistan in one of the series, and we were watching. And this is good way of connecting back to your culture,
Hmm.
learning about your traditional food, because we're originally from Uzbekistan, right?
Okay.
And he also went to Pakistan, and we were watching like about the food, the street food. It's really
Yes.
nice.
Yes.
It's a quality. It can be considered as quality family time because you're watching with your kids, you're connecting, you're discussing, and he's like, oh, I wish we had that right now. I feel like, it's
Yes.
really good. If you look from that perspective, it's really good chance for parents to connect and bond with their children, watching and the same things and discussing, having discussions about it. I really,
Yeah. That's true.
yeah, can be considered as a quality time, inshallah. And
Inshallah.
yeah, the final thoughts, really. Over to you, Azra. What are your final thoughts?
The final thoughts are we cannot control 100% with what goes on, but we can try to be as proactive as we can. Do not be afraid to call. A lot of parents are afraid to be called helicopter parents. They want to set, uh, they want themselves to be fitted into a mold of cool parents, and that they relax because of that. They do not get involved. They are like, we trust our children, and we trust that they, like, they'd
Yeah,
make the correct decision, and that is good. That is commendable. That thought is commendable. But see, they're still
it's
children.
dangerous.
They
Yes,
are
it's
still
dangerous.
children.
Yeah,
How
I
can we
don't think
expect?
we can trust. I remember I remember to have this conversation with a sister who said like, "Oh, I trust my children," and then another sister. We were just having mum discussion.
Mhm.
Another sister said, sometimes you watch something on YouTube and something pops up, and you can't even trust your own nafs at that
Exactly.
moment, right? Now we've
Exactly.
grown old, and the temptations are less. But think about 13, 14 year olds, the temptations are all around. Their blood is like boiling, and they
Yeah.
just, you know, um, full
Just
of
go back to
desires.
when you were that age. You don't have to go that
Yeah.
far. Just
If,
think of maybe not the screen. Something else would have intrigued your curiosity, and you'd want to know something which you now
yes.
wasn't good. So,
Yes.
and even then, mashallah, most of us were full of confidence that okay, nothing's gonna happen. And alhamdulillah, we came through
Yeah.
that age potentially unharmed. But that cannot always be the case.
Yeah.
When your child is online, if a lot of children they do online chatting as well, uh, make sure
Yeah.
that they are chatting with people in real life, personally. Do not
That's
let
right.
them chat randomly. It's really harmful because there are a lot
Yes.
of predators. There are a lot of people who catfish. There have been cases, astaghfirullah, where a child has been harmed because they were chatting with somebody they wouldn't be chatting with. They gave them their
Yeah.
personal information, the information of their parents, their
Yeah.
siblings, and these are really scary and dangerous stuff. But it happens.
Yes.
You cannot just turn a blind eye to it and cover yourself with a blanket or something and say that it won't happen to us or it
That's
won't happen
right.
to me.
That's right.
It
Yeah, I always say better be safe than
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Yeah, that's
Better be
true.
safe than sorry. At the end of the day, we are supposed to tie the knot, make sure that you come up with your own rules and regulations that
Inshallah.
fits and suits the needs of your family, and make sure that you ensure that you communicate this to, children, to everybody in the family, and then put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because at the end of the day, it can happen to anybody, right? It can
Yes,
happen to
it can
you,
happen to
it can
anybody.
happen to me, because we are living in this day and age, but we have to tie the knot. We have to do what we have to do
Yeah,
before we put our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make dua, may Allah protect us and our children, our
I mean,
families. May Allah preserve them.
I
And
mean,
really, in this day and age, we cannot be digital hermits, and we depend on screen for many, many reasons,
yes.
for work, for school, and for a bit of entertainment daily. And like we said, screen use more intentionally. We can't avoid it completely, because nowadays we are more or less living with our laptops and mobiles. And
Hmm.
subhanallah, one day I forgot my mobile at home, and I was saying to my students, "Oh, I feel like I've left a limp. Uh, you know,
Behind it.
I may as well have left my leg or arm at home."
Yes.
And really, subhanallah, we depend on it for so many things, for so many things. But when it comes to entertainment or just like passive pastime, we can aim for less, and it has to start with adults.
Hmm.
Adults to model appropriate screen time behavior. So it's not healthy for us to be, glued to our mobiles all the
All the
time.
time.
It
That is
has to
true. We
start
have to
with.
emulate what we are preaching. You're telling
That's
your
right.
kid that you only get 1 hour of screen time and then you're sitting on the phone for 3 hours. It doesn't work that way. When
Yes,
the child especially sees that you're not doing work, that you're not working on your screen. If you're working on the screen, then that's a different thing. You can always explain it to them that, mama has to work or baba has to work or your dad has to do some work. It's really
yeah,
important. But when they see that you yourself are entertaining yourself for 3+ hours while they are begging you to come and play, it doesn't
yeah,
work like that. They're just gonna do what you're doing because in their
yes,
minds it's the right thing to do. It's like
that's right.
my mom and dad are doing, so it must be right. Because
Yeah,
up till a certain age, the children will copy everything you do. The children will try to be more like their parents than they would like to be uh, by
yeah,
themselves. So
yes,
it,
yes,
it's a huge responsibility. Parenting is one of the toughest things I have ever undertaken in my life till now.
yes,
Undeniably, and like the toughest and the rewarding too, but tough first, I would say.
yes,
Every single
definitely.
action you take as parents, you have to think of the consequence on
Yeah,
what would happen, how would my child see me in this way.
yeah, yeah. So we have to start with ourselves.
Yes,
Dear parents, we have to disconnect to connect, because quality time with people in your life is important, right? And there's no app that can replace that. No app
that is
can
true.
take its place, inshallah. So we
Inshallah.
now have 10 minutes for Q&A, or rather 7 minutes for Q&A if anybody is tuning in live and have questions. Um, we have a question from Sister Asma, saying, loving the discussion, so relatable and important for parents. Jazakallah khair. MashaAllah, very true. Love the topic and informative. Um, thank you. They just feedback. And
Yes,
so Humaira is saying parents often overlook at the importance of involving and encouraging the boy child in the household
household
chores, that
chores.
over a period of time they feel ashamed and even offended when asked for help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a cultural thing. That is a cultural thing. Trust me, Umara, it is a cultural thing. You go through all. There's no religious text which says that only girls have to do the household chores. I do not know. It is a cultural thing, but it's a sad thing. That's how for some reason men are raised in a very crippling manner, I would say. You empower your child, your girl child, by teaching her to do everything, taking care of herself and others, and you do not teach your male child to do these things, even the most basic of things. Or if he does it, you raise that child to the heavens. My child is, I don't know, something. While the sister is still doing more than the boy, but for some reason the boy gets praised more for picking up a glass of water and keep it around the sink in the sink than the sister gets praised for cleaning the whole kitchen, maybe. uh, that uh,
Mm,
that I think is a really unfair upbringing to subject your children to, because that
yeah.
is how it translates to a lot of issues in adulthood, in behavioral
Yes.
issues, in
Yes.
boys
Yes.
and girls both, where girls end up thinking that this is the primary task.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
And
is,
that's why we have a lot of, you know, discussion nowadays, gender roles in Islam, and, a lot of frustrating men or women, or like you said, it's very important. And both parents, now we have a generation of young Muslim women who work outside the home, right?
yes,
And because they can't run a family on a single income, so we have a lot of Muslim parents both working outside the home. And then when it comes to home or running the household, it mainly falls on the shoulders of women, because a
yes.
lot of questions we've been receiving lately on RYS is around gender roles, and it really surprised me. Like, we have a lot of frustrated women who are professional working women, but also, would appreciate some help in the house, and they're not getting that help. And it's really interesting, because the times are different now. The times
Times
are
are different,
different.
it's changed. And see, personally for me, I just feel that if men think that they're helping around the house, why the hell do you think you're helping around the house? It is your house, it's your wife, it's your family. You're taking care of your family.
That's
By
right.
by implying it to them that, because we do get a lot of it. We do get a lot of it around us too. Where men would do something and everybody would be praised up, like, and everybody would be up in arms and praise about them. One thing, even if they're just vacuuming the house, the woman does everything and they're just dismissive. Oh, but it's normal. I've been told that. I've been told that, actually. When you do it, it's really normal. But when, alhamdulillah, my husband is not like that. But it's a third party thing.
Yeah, I
So
think
you
it's good
don't.
that we should teach both girls and boys,
Yeah.
to do more around the house, and not limit it, certain things to girls, or certain things just to boys. No, you can alternate. And I've seen, parents doing really creative things, like they write the chores, for example, on sticks or on paper, and the
Hmm,
the the kids get to
pick it.
like pick one, and
Yeah.
then whatever is written there, they just do it, right?
You have to do it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, we have to train boys and girls, both
Both.
genders, from young
Both.
age to do any household chore, right? It's not
Yeah.
limited. And we know from the hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi
Sallallahu alaihi
wasallam
wasallam.
used
Hmm.
to mend his own clothes and wash his own clothes, and used to do things around the house. So it's not really
It's
limited to any
funny.
particular
It's
gender.
Yeah, it's really funny that not all men, but a lot of men, I've heard that they want a woman like Khadija radiallahu anha, a wife like Khadija radiallahu anha. And I always think that to get someone like her, you have to emulate the properties that the personality that a Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam emulate. You cannot be a lazy person and want, or a lesser active person, or a not so involved person, or not as
Yeah,
kind and compassionate as the man we follow, and want somebody who is much higher in status, because she can somehow fix you. She can't. Nobody
yeah,
can fix anybody. Like, nobody is a rehabilitation center for anybody else. If you need a
that's right.
rehabilitation center, just go to a rehab center. Don't seek it in relationships and people.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. And it
it's
just reminds me this. the story. I don't know if you meant that, that it's reported that somebody came to Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anhu to complain about
Okay.
his wife's ill temper.
Hmm.
And so while he was waiting, for Umar radiallahu anhu to come out of his house,
Hmm.
he heard his wife, scolding him and telling him off, and Umar radiallahu anhu quietly listening to her and did not answer anything back, right? And then the man turned around and just started walking away, muttering to himself like, "Oh, if this is the case with Umar, who is the leader of the believers,
Hmm.
who is so famous for his like toughness, then what about me? Like, oh, miskin me and poor me."
Hmm.
So at that moment, then Umar radiallahu anhu came out of his house, and he saw the man walking away, and he said, like, "Oh, what is it that do you want something from me?" And the
Hmm.
man said, "Oh, the leader of the believers, I came to you to complain about my wife, and she nags me and she shouts at me. Then I heard your wife doing the same to you, so I just turned around and muttering to myself, if this is the situation with the leader of the believers, then what about me?" And then
Hmm.
Umar radiallahu anhu replied, "Oh, my brother, like, I bear with her because of her rights over me. And she cooks and she bakes my bread and, washes my clothes and breastfeeds my children, raises my children. And yet none of these are her duties. And she is a comfort of my heart, She keeps me away from forbidden deeds. And
Hmm.
so I just bear with her." And the man said, "It's the same with me." And then Amar radiallahu anhu said, "Then, oh my brother, be patient with her. And indeed, life is short." It's just, subhanAllah, it just reminded me, like, how beautiful, like, it is, like, we do it to attain the pleasure of Allah. But really, all this, yes, with the right intention, all this cooking and cleaning and, raising children, it can be means of worship, means of ibadah. It can be for us to earn ajr and, the way to Jannah. But like you said, really, Islamically, it's not stipulated,
No.
as like women's duty and as such, subhanallah.
Yeah.
And we have, I think, one more question from
Yeah.
sister, who says, "Should we limit the screen time for children as per the age or as per the need? We observe parents giving of mobile tablets to toddlers just to have some rest." This is very individual thing. I
Yes.
think
You
it
can't
difference.
you can't put it in a
Yeah,
box. Literally, you can't really put in the
exactly.
box
Yeah,
because you do not know. First of all, you do not know what kind of day the parent has had
yeah,
to be able to incite them to give them some tablet just to have some mental peace. Because I do that sometimes. Sometimes when it is just too overwhelming for me after a really tiring day, we are like, okay, go and watch your tab for some time, and then we'll just close it for maybe after an hour or so. So it's
yeah.
really individual, and as long as it's not a phenomena and a regular phenomena, I think that should be fine. That is really fine. If
Yeah,
it's
because it
not,
doesn't really help, if somebody is having a bad day on a rainy day where they can't
yes,
go out, and um, and it doesn't really help to say that, okay, you have got to, no screen time whatsoever under 2 year olds. And yes, the age should be taken into
into
account.
consideration. Yes.
In general, this is a
Hmm.
general guidelines, based
Yes.
on, again, studies, research, and professionals. Yes, under twos, no screen, as much as possible. Aim for no screen in a day-to-day life. And 2 to 4 year olds, between 20 to 30 minutes and an hour, up to the age of 12, and 12 plus up to 2 hours. But again, it doesn't mean, 2 hour daily allowance. I don't think that's,
Mm.
um, I don't think that's their birthright either, right?
Yes, that is so
It's like,
true. Children two
we,
and under, first of all, they do not need screens. They
yes,
are so busy playing with themselves and playing with everything around them, whether it's a spoon or a cushion. They don't need screen time. They only need screen time when you get them accustomed to screen time. Uh,
exactly. And this is the time, between, why they say no screen time between the age of 1 to 2. This is when the brain develops the most. and
Yes.
they are absorbing everything that they see around them, and they learn 70% of what they learn from the home atmosphere. So they
Mhm.
need to be interacting, they need to be, out there experiencing things. And people who's the toddlers who spend a lot of time in front of screen, they observed, speech delays, or they walk late, and they have certain lack of social skills, right? And
Yes.
the screen time has a lot of impact on the development, on child's development, physically, mentally, emotionally,
That is true.
spiritually, in every possible way. And general guidelines, yes, that take the child's age and needs into consideration when you give that screen time, but it's not their birthright.
Yes. That is true.
We have another question. Now schools are teaching online as well. Students are having excuses regarding same. How can we protect our children from this? Yes, this we have
We
discussed
will
this
discuss
question.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah. This is
yeah,
realistically you can't put, like, you cannot put a timeline on how much to use screen just because we are doing everything online right now, schools
yes,
and colleges and everything. What we were actually talking about was how to control the entertainment aspect of it, because what is important, you cannot really tell the teacher that, my child has already had 2 hours of screen time with the school, so how about you cut it down a little and I'm going to give the child more entertainment time. You can't do that. You
yeah,
can't do that. So what is important would be important. uh, what we are talking about is to how to replace screen time with better quality or better activities, so that the child does not feel a longing to go back to the screen time and again or all the time. Once in a
yeah,
while it's okay, as a family activity is good, individually also it's good, but obviously not in an enclosed space, not in a private space. It has to be depending on the age of the child, or I think up till a certain age it should be where you can monitor them,
yeah.
what they're watching, how they're
And
watching.
the children who are doing, the children who are doing online schooling, because I have a couple of children who are doing
Hmm.
online schooling, I'm always checking, like I'm always in and out of the room. Like my son is 9, who's doing online schooling,
Hmm.
and every day he's in front of the laptop, for 4 hours. And like we said, we try to put him in a living room where
Yes.
me or his father can walk in the background. And so if not, then I'm always popping in and out and checking, the history, like, and constantly communicating, like, you're supposed to be doing school. This is school time, and you're not allowed to go, off in to other tabs and play with your, and have trust in your child. I always say that I trust you. I
Mm.
trust you, and these are the rules, and I know you will follow the rules. Just communicate the rules to your child. Stay
Yes.
on top of it. Keep checking history, and make sure you pop in and out of the room. I know most of us can't physically sit next to our children for 3 4
Mm.
hours during schooling. Just keep popping in and out of the room. Make sure that your child sees you, notices that, okay, my parents are there, and they care, and they see me, they hear me. Your presence is felt. It's not like, oh, here you go, you do your own school, right? Leave them to their own devices. No, I think that the supervision is really, really important.
Yeah, that is true.
Um,
That is so true.
okay, well, one last question. This trend of giving off screen time to young children has been going on for long. How do we break the chain? Should we inculcate more outdoor activities in the name of entertainment, or what else? Yes, definitely. We should.
Definitely.
We should do more outdoor activities, and if you have to force yourself like we do. A a lot of
Take
the days,
hikes. Take
yeah, I have
hikes.
to force
Go on
myself.
walks. Go on less populated areas. Not in the sense like secluded areas, but yeah, where there would be less population. Take walks after Fajr. Good way to get your children to wake up for Fajr and do physical activities. Like involve them in exercise. Like there are children based exercise as well, which children can do, you can do as a family, exercising as a family,
Yeah. I
camping.
think going for a
Mm.
walk is the best thing. It's
Yes.
free, and it doesn't matter where in the world you are, whether you are in Europe or whatever continent, you can always go for a walk, and
Yes, that is
you don't
true.
have to pay for it. You don't have to pay for the road or for the air. It's there, like
It's there.
everybody can make it part of their like daily routine. It just needs like a willpower, like talking from experience, right? It took me a while to establish this as a habit. Like it was constant battle, like, oh, shall I go this or shall I go later? Oh,
Hmm.
you really have to get yourself out
Yeah, the
there. But
first step
once
is
you
to
know
put on your
the
coat.
benefits, yeah,
Yes.
once you know the benefits, like, now my children every day begging, like, can we go out? They ride their bikes, I just walk, and
Hmm.
it's really healthy,
It's really
and
healthy.
subhanallah, it helps you mentally. Really,
Hmm.
it increases your feelings of happiness. It really boosts your mood. Just looking at the trees, noticing the birds, and I feel like it really helps me with brain fog, or like
Just
mental.
gathering yourself
Yeah,
mentally,
it's
emotionally,
really, yep,
taking a break from whatever is coming ahead in your day or whatever has went past in your day.
definitely.
Um, Definitely, everybody has a place to walk around. I know some people live in really cramped up areas, really tight cities, but even they have small parks. You can always
That's right.
find a place to walk around your locality, to walk around, find a park where you can take your kids and they could just maybe ride a bike, run around. You can take a walk. And I
Yeah.
know with the pandemic, a lot of parents are also um, not convinced enough for the kids to let go and play them in the park just because it is a public place. It is a
Yes.
populated public place. So maybe
Yes.
find times where it would be less populated, or involve them in activities which would not require them to be in touch with other people, too much in touch with other people, like biking, uh, kids like to skateboard or on the
Yeah.
scooters, or
Yeah.
just walking and talking. If you have hiking areas around, you take them on hikes on weekends. We used to
Yes.
do a lot of hikes, and our kids
Yeah.
loved hiking. They still love hiking. We stopped because of the weather. We can't take them out now.
Yeah.
Go on small picnics on such areas where they're not very populated, but they are like safe places.
Yeah.
If you have a vehicle or if you have routes around your city where it's good to go on small drives, take the kids for small drives, get them an ice cream on the way, or take an ice cream with you,
Yeah.
popsicles. There are a lot of things you can find out by looking at your own surroundings. We can
Yes.
what your city has to offer or what the outskirts of your city has to offer without exposing them too much to human element in
Yeah.
close proximity, because that's how COVID spreads. But
Yeah.
yeah, obviously you can always find there's always a potential in every place, in every person. So I think
Yeah.
that's about it,
Mashallah.
inshallah.
Mashallah. Jazakallah khair, Azra, for coming on board. It was
Jazakallah
lovely
khair.
having you in our
Jazakallah khair for
Raya
this
studio
opportunity.
today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jazakallah khair for
mashallah.
this
I really
opportunity.
enjoyed our chai chat, mashallah, and I saw you sipping your tea, mashallah. And
I'm
alhamdulillah,
it's really early in the morning, and as you can see,
mashallah.
my face is all swollen up because barely just got up. I texted you and I just came in online.
Okay,
So I
okay,
need
mashallah.
something to energize my mind to be able to be present in this conversation. So
Mashallah,
I couldn't
mashallah.
have done without it. But yeah,
Jazakallah
Jazakallah
khair.
khair.
Yeah,
Jazakallah
Jazakallah
khair.
khair. It was nice having you over here,
Alhamdulillah.
and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of us
Ameen.
tawfiq and barakah in our lives.
Ameen.
May Allah
Ameen.
preserve
Ameen.
our children. May Allah help us to use the screen to our benefit, to our advantage, and may Allah guide our children to the right path so they make
Ameen. Ameen.
healthy choices and healthy decisions with regards to screen time, because at some
Ameen.
point they'll just have to make their own decisions, right? Subhanallah. And
Yes.
we just constantly make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides them and us continuously, and this is what we can do. We just do what we have to do and make dua and put our
Ameen.
reliance in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. I visited your website and I've been following you for some time. So I really like what you're doing. Alhamdulillah, Allahum barik
MashaAllah.
laha.
Jazakallah
Uh,
khair.
it's
Jazakallah
been
khair.
pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure to be collaborating with you on this. And
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah, I've enjoyed it. Yeah, I've enjoyed it
Alhamdulillah.
really.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khair for everyone who tuned in live. And don't forget to subscribe to our Wayas YouTube channel. what do they say? Press the like button,
That's the
comment, and share. And we will wrap up with this. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم
Assalamu
ورحمة
alaikum.
الله
Wa alaikum
وبركاته.
assalam wa rahmatullahi